All right, welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely. Always ready to dig into some fascinating material.
Well, today we've got a big one. We're diving into the world of Elon Musk. So, we all know him for rockets, electric cars, but there's a lot more to Elon Musk than just that. So, we're going to look into his whole entrepreneurial journey, all the different ventures, even his recent moves in the political sphere. What do you think?
That sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
He is a very complex figure, pushing the boundaries, challenging how we think about things.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's funny. You think about Elon Musk, you don't necessarily think about Pretoria, South Africa. That's where it all began. Not exactly Silicon Valley, right?
Definitely not the typical birthplace of a tech titan, that's for sure.
Right. But, even early on, he had this passion for computers.
Yeah, from a young age.
Yeah.
You can kind of see how that kind of just kept building and building. He went to university in South Africa originally, but eventually ended up, in Canada
Hmm.
and then eventually the US, just chasing all these opportunities and knowledge.
Yeah, always learning, always pushing forward. And that's, I think where we see that entrepreneurial spirit really starts to come out. Right out of university, co-founds Zip2, this online city guide. Think about it, this is pre-Google Maps.
Yeah.
You're navigating with a clunky old print map. Talk about ahead of the curve.
Yeah, like trying to find your way in a new city with one of those huge fold-out maps. Can you
Mhm.
imagine?
Oh, nightmare. Total nightmare. But he saw that potential in the early internet.
Definitely. Musk was definitely ahead of the game there.
Hmm.
And then, of course, X.com, this online bank that eventually, through this whole series of events and mergers,
Yeah.
becomes what we all know now, PayPal.
PayPal. Wow. See, I didn't even realize that he was involved in the origins of PayPal. That's amazing to me.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. And then selling it to eBay back in 2002 for like $1.5 billion.
Hmm.
That gave him the capital for SpaceX and Tesla, his big ambitious ventures.
Okay, let's talk SpaceX for a second. I mean, come on. Colonizing Mars. How ambitious can you get?
Seriously ambitious.
Huh?
But, it's not just about putting people on Mars. SpaceX has had a huge impact by bringing down the cost of space travel, opening it up to private companies.
It's pretty incredible to think about, the way it's kind of shaken up the whole space industry.
For sure. It's like a new era of space exploration. And then you've got Tesla. That's a household name now. But think about what they did to the car industry.
Yeah, it wasn't just about electric cars. It was about making them cool, desirable, high performance.
Challenging that old image of electric cars as boring and impractical.
Yeah, right. Like they had to be cool first and foremost. Those high-end models kind of forced the entire industry to take electric vehicles seriously.
A total game changer. And it's not just about cars and rockets with him either. You've got Solar City fitting into this whole vision of a sustainable future.
Right.
Solar City, so he's attacking the energy problem too.
Yeah.
And then there's the Hyperloop, right?
Mm-hmm. Hyperloop, the boring company, always thinking about transportation solutions. Pretty wild.
The Boring Company. What is that all about?
So basically, they're trying to solve traffic. Imagine like tunnels underground, zooming around in your car, no more surface traffic.
That's straight out of a futuristic movie.
It really is. And that's not even the craziest stuff he's working on.
Okay, you're gonna have to tell me more about this.
Well, there's Neuralink. They're working on these like brain computer interfaces. And then there's OpenAI, focused on making sure artificial intelligence is a good thing for all of us. Groundbreaking stuff.
Brain-computer interfaces. It's both exciting and a little terrifying, right?
Hmm.
Like, what are the chances that AI actually gets smarter than humans?
Yeah,
What would
right.
that even look like? That's a big question. A lot of researchers and ethicists are thinking about that right now, and it's not an easy one to answer. But it's a discussion we need to be having as this technology keeps advancing.
For sure. It seems like Musk just jumps headfirst into these uncharted territories. But I think we need to shift gears for a second. Let's talk about some of his more recent ventures and the controversies that have come along with them.
Okay, yeah, we should definitely explore the whole Twitter acquisition, the rebranding to X, and his move into the world of politics.
Right. So Musk buys Twitter, turns it into X, and it's just been this whirlwind of debate ever since. Layoffs, all these changes to the platform, concerns about content moderation. It's been a wild ride.
It makes you think about the power of social media, right? When one person controls a platform that reaches so many people, it raises all sorts of questions about free speech, censorship, what online discussions should even look like.
Yeah, it's a big responsibility. And then there's this whole political side of things, which just adds another layer of complexity to his story.
His support for Donald Trump, both vocal and financial, really caught a lot of people off guard,
Yeah, becoming the second largest individual donor to Trump's campaign leading up to the 2024 election, that was a big surprise for many.
for sure. And now he's co-chair of the proposed Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE as they're calling it, in Trump's new administration. From Pretoria to a potential government position. That's quite the journey.
Yeah, it really makes you think, what does this all mean for Musk, for the government, for the country as a whole?
So many questions. It seems like he's always focused on solving problems, no matter what industry he's in. From tech to transportation, energy to government, he just dives in headfirst.
That's a really good point. There's this consistent thread of ambition, this drive to make a real difference. It's pretty remarkable.
Absolutely. And it makes his story all the more fascinating to follow.
Okay, so we've covered a lot here already, from South Africa to PayPal, SpaceX, and Tesla, and now politics. What stood out to you so far? What's the most surprising or intriguing thing about Elon Musk?
Hmm, that's a tough one. But I think it's his ability to make science fiction a reality. Setting these crazy goals like colonizing Mars, merging human consciousness with AI, and then actually taking steps to make it happen. It's mind-blowing. I know it's really wild. It makes you wonder what's next for him.
What is next for Elon Musk? That is the question, right? But it's not all smooth sailing. He's got his critics. And one of the things they often bring up are some of his statements, especially during COVID.
Oh, right, yeah. Some of his statements weren't exactly in line with what the scientists were saying.
Not exactly. And it's a good reminder for all of us to really think critically about information, especially when it's coming from someone as influential as Elon Musk.
Definitely. We can't just take things at face value.
Absolutely not. And of course, we can't ignore the whole X, formerly Twitter situation. I mean, those mass layoffs, the changes to the platform that upset a lot of users, it hasn't been a smooth transition.
It's been a bumpy road, and it raises these really important questions about the role of social media in our society, how much power these platforms actually have.
For sure. And then you throw in his political involvement, and it just adds this whole other layer to the Elon Musk saga.
It's uncharted territory, right? I mean, we've seen celebrities, business leaders get into politics before, but Musk's approach feels different somehow. He doesn't shy away from expressing his opinions, even when they're controversial. And he's clearly willing to put his money where his mouth is, to support those beliefs.
Oh, absolutely. Speaking of controversial, do you remember when he endorsed that conspiracy theory?
Oh, yeah. That caused a major backlash.
Huge backlash. And I think it just goes to show that even brilliant minds can make mistakes. And when you're in the public eye like he is, those mistakes get amplified.
It's like everything he does is magnified, put under a microscope.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like he's this living, breathing example of how complex influence is today. You've got these incredible innovations, this drive to solve global problems, but then you also have these questionable statements, the potential for missteps. It's a lot to unpack.
It really is. And I think that's what makes him so fascinating to study, to talk about. He's not a simple person, and his story is far from over.
Okay, so we've gone from his childhood in South Africa to the founding of PayPal, SpaceX, and Tesla, and now we're talking about politics. Out of everything we've discussed, what stands out to you as the most surprising or intriguing thing about Elon Musk?
Hmm, that's a tough one. I think for me, it's how easily he blends science fiction with reality. I mean, he sets these goals that seem impossible, like colonizing Mars, merging human consciousness with AI, but then he actually starts taking steps to make them happen. It's really mind-boggling.
It's like he's daring us to think bigger, like to go beyond what we believe is possible. But at the same time, his story is kind of a warning, too. Power and influence can be used for good or for bad, and we have to be aware of the consequences of our actions, especially when those actions could affect millions, even billions of people.
It's not enough to just dream big. We have to think critically about what those dreams might lead to. What kind of world are we building with these technologies? What are the risks, the benefits? Who's benefiting, and who might get left behind? We all need to be asking ourselves these questions as we move into this new era of technology.
You're absolutely right. And as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Elon Musk, I think it's important to remember that he's just one piece of a much larger puzzle.
He is a product of his time, a reflection of the forces that are shaping our world right now. Because whether you see him as a visionary leader or a reckless disruptor, you can't deny that Elon Musk is a powerful force, and his impact on the world is only going to grow.
Yeah, it's kind of mind blowing when you really stop and think about how much things have changed, even just in the last few years. So much potential.
That's a good point, and I think that's part of what makes Elon Musk such a fascinating figure. He really embodies that, pushing the boundaries, not being afraid to shake things up.
Yeah, absolutely. Whether it's going to Mars or developing those brain computer interfaces, he just goes for it. Things that most people would consider straight up science fiction.
It's like he's asking, What are we really capable of as humans?
Mm,
What are our limits? What does the future hold for us? Big questions.
I agree. Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into Elon Musk's world. We talked about his entrepreneurial journey, those incredible ventures he started, the controversial things he said, his move into politics.
Yeah, from disrupting entire industries to sparking debates all over the place, he definitely keeps things interesting.
So, as we wrap things up here, I want to leave you with this. What does Elon Musk's story tell you about the world we live in today? About the future we're creating?
That's a really good question to think about. It's something we all need to consider. And remember, the future isn't something that just happens to us. We're all creating it together.
So true. All right. Until next time, everyone.